for more on a closer look at Latin America's biggest economy, we're joined by Nelson Franco Jobim in Rio. He is a journalist and lecturer in journalism and international relations. Welcome to the show. Good to have you.
Good. Thanks for having me.
This is a pretty significant meeting. I mean, you have President Biden, who's often said the importance about South America. We know that South America has had very significant relationships with China, so there's obviously a political undercurrent in all this. But the bottom line is you've got big economy number one, big economy number two, or the biggest at least in South America, coming together to have a meeting. What do you think were the key talking points or takeaway from this meeting?
Well, the main focus today were on the issues that they agree on. For example, the climate change, the necessity to preserve the Amazonian rainforests, the question of democracy, because both presidents have been attacked by far-right extremists. There was the invasion of the Congress in the United States in 2021 and 2021, and Brazil in the 8th of January, the Bolsonaro activists invaded Congress, the Supreme Court, and the presidential palace. So they discussed mainly the issues they agree on: democracy, the need to preserve democracy in both countries, the need to regulate social media to avoid this epidemic of fake news, and also the questions of climate change, as well as ways to reduce social inequality.
What areas did you think maybe not agree on or didn't discuss that they should?
Well, the main, how can I say, the main disagreement is on the war on Ukraine, because the United States supports Ukraine and Brazil. I think that most of the global South, they condemned Russia's invasion on the UN General Assembly, but did not adopt the sanctions against Russia. So there is a signal that the so-called global South doesn't want to take sides in this war. And Lula wanted to create a group of countries to negotiate some peace agreement, or at least a ceasefire to start with. And President Biden, of course, is supporting Ukraine. So, and NATO as well, they believe that Ukraine can defeat Russia. And that's the goal of the United States and Europe, and that's not what Brazil is defending at the moment.
Do you think that could change? I mean, with him now in office and sort of a new administration, if you will, might there be an opportunity for Brazil to be a leader in sort of peace negotiations, or at least of accelerating whatever the outcome might be?
Well, Brazil wants to create a group and wants China and India to lead this group. So it means that from Lula's point of view, Europe and the United States have already taken sides, so they are not the best countries to negotiate peace. And in this sense, they strongly believe that Brazil strongly believes that China and India can have some influence on Russia and try to mediate the relations between Russia and Ukraine. This is Lula's main idea.
The other big topic, obviously, China has made significant investments in South America, has a very strong relationship, as we talked about, with Brazil, the U.S. Now you've got this sort of triangular, trifecta, relationship going on. Do you think there was some talk specifically about China at the White House?
Well, the main issue with China is that the United States wants Brazil to be part of the supply chain of microchips. And the United States is trying to deny the Western technology to China, wants to it's clearly a way of trying to slow the
but what would Brazil's role in that be, though?
Well, Brazil, it's clear from the Lula's first trips, first to Latin America, to Argentina, then to the United States, and then to China, that these are the main priorities of Brazil's foreign policy: the region, the United States, and China. China is the largest trading partner of Brazil since 2009. So it's very relations with China are very important. And Lula announced that he's going to China next month. So I don't think that Brazil will take any position against China. Brazil has a common interest on the question of the WTO, of being against United States protectionism. And if you listen to President Biden State of the Union address, it was clearly protectionist, economic nationalism. So, but United States trying to attract Brazil to this coalition of to
Good point.
create a supply chain of microchips without excluding China.
Very good point. I'm afraid we're out of time. Nelson Franco Jobim, really appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. On to Peru.